Good evening. I guess we have a special meeting today with the whole city councils. As you know, we're in the joint sewer authority. I'm the chairman, considered by seniority. Suppose we can introduce ourselves because I don't think everybody knows who we are. So we don't have that much interaction with the council. Okay, my name is Steve Petroff.
Gary will start on the superintendent of wastewater, and there are 20 members.
George Sankey, I'm the city manager and on board.
Tony Edelbeck, city manager of Kingsford, also on board. Paul Beauchamp, I'm the authority for
Okay. Taking roll call, all members are present. There are no minutes to approve. After the presentation. Pardon? Oh, okay. You roll call the councilman?
Yes. Just elected Kingsford.
Okay. Michael Caminio? Joe Grenville?
Here.
Cynthia Dixon Miller?
Here.
Dennis Baldinelli?
Here.
Anthony Erickson?
Here.
Okay. Gail Allison Green?
Here.
Bill Reamer?
Here.
Dave Stoll?
Here.
Pam Lawley? Amanda List? Brad Cole? Kyle Lucas? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, move the agenda to new business. Presentations and scope of options for equipment replacement project. Refer to the gentleman from GEI.
Hi, I'm Scott Richards, GEI Consultants. Also, I think I know many of you know Jeff Paul. We're here tonight to talk about a project that we've been looking at. I haven't been really involved until, I guess it's been probably a couple of years since Jeff and I first came into looking at some of the improvements that are outlined in the scope of work. However, Gary and the board have already been looking at this project, various components of it for a lot longer than that. Without further ado, I guess just as an overview, what we're proposing as a project is repair and replacement of the existing equipment and facilities. It's nothing new, we just want to put that place there. And it's time. A lot of the equipment and facilities have exceeded their useful life or are very close to it.
Scott, can I stop 1 second and just explain what the purpose of this meeting is? The purpose of this meeting was the Joint Sewer Authority has been talking about improvements to the plant, which is 60 years old. Most of the plant was built in about 1958. There was additions to the plant in 1878 with the retention basin, with some other small improvements to the plant. But basically, the main plant was built in 1958 and is in need of a number of different components that have been identified by our superintendent, by the staff, by the DEQs from their inspections that they've done over the last number of years, and then most of late, we've hired an engineer to come in and do further evaluations to see what type of a project would be entailed in order to do this. Again, the authority has been working on this for a couple of years and trying to identify some of the things that need to take place. The reason for this meeting this evening was so that we could get city council of both Iron Mountain and of Kingsford together in one room so that we could do a presentation of the things that have been found, a little bit of history on the plant, and where we're looking to move forward with upgrades to the plant. And so that there's an opportunity for questions by the council, there's opportunity for answers so that everybody's on the same page rather than trying to put together two separate presentations for the city council. Because as some of you know, and those of you that don't, The plant that is at the river is owned by the city of Iron Mountain and the city of Kingsford, and it's been that way since the 1930s. 1950 when the plant was basically with the sewer right-of-way, for the use of sewer by the whole city since the 1930s. The plant was put in 1958 when it was built. That's the purpose of the meeting. Again, get everybody in the same room to explain this one time and answer any questions that you may have.
An overview of what I would like to cover is the function of the wastewater treatment plant is. History has told me, said, reasons for the project, why we want to do it now. I want to talk about the needs and why they're modest. The options and wastewater rates that are associated with it. And community rate comparison, that is to look at what the rates are of Iron Mountain Kingsford versus neighboring communities. So my English teacher always said, anytime you do a presentation, you better have it. So here it is. Mrs. Pearson. Service area. That's Iron Mountain Kingsford, a very small portion of Redmond Township. What it does, wastewater speeds up natural processes. We're just using bacteria to treat water. There's a lot of mechanical separation that's involved as well. When the wastewater plant does not stay, it's 24/7. Reliability is a must. It's 365. Christmas and Easter included. It discharges to the Menominee River. Prior to the wastewater plant being in place, it's still discharged to the Menominee River. It's mostly. Why? Well, it's public health, preserve the environment, which is basically public health. And it's also mandated, it's required by the EPA. How? Well, equipment. I got equipment highlighted. That's why we're here. We're talking about replacing the equipment. Equipment does a lot of work. Gary and his crew does a lot of work on the equipment. In turn, the equipment does a lot of work on cleaning up the water and the wastewater. So we're removing solids, we're removing organics, we're removing nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen. And of course, there's disinfection to neutralize any pathogens. Brief history. Before '58, it went straight to the Menominee River. In the '50s, the state of Michigan came after the cities to say we need to do better. And at that time, the sewage board was formed. In 1958, that was the construction of the initial wastewater treatment facilities. And because Gary's such a good keeper of the records here, he's got all the original blueprints. 1958, it says in the corner, it's Jordan. You can see this is the platted area. There's some of the buildings that are still there today, the two digesters and the primary treatment facility, the main plant. And this is Asselin Sewer Creek, which is where we're discharged. And fast forward to 1972, Clean Water Act came on. Thank you, Richard Nixon, one good thing. 1975, there was funding available, or EPA funding being involved, and secondary treatment was able to be constructed, which is still in service today. There's a third leg of this that's not shown yet. It was the CSO basin, the sewer overflow basin, which is up east. But this is all the main plant. All these facilities are still there today and still in operation. And much of the equipment is still original, though most I think has been refurbished or is pending to be refurbished. A lot of it is still original. There's operation staff has cited that there's some pumps that are still there from 1958. In 78 and 79, combined sewer overflow was erected, constructed, and a new primary digester. And those three projects are the main large projects where the facilities were actually constructed. The CSO basin handles any excessive flows that the main plant can treat. Includes screening, dirt removal, settling, and and some was on coronation. Before the construction. As a timeline, after that, in the 1980s, there was a clarifier rebuild, primary clarifier rebuild. That was originally constructed in 58. So you think about 1958 to 1980s, well, that's 32 years. You take 32 years from the 1980s to where we are today, that's about right for another rebuild. 1990, there was aeration and diffuser replacement, and that was from 1978 prior. 2008, for safety reasons, the plant went to liquid chlorination versus gas chlorination. In 2010, there were some aeration water control improvements. And in 2015, the joint sewage authority was formed for purposes, legal purposes, and having the ability to bond, amongst other reasons. Just so that you don't get the sense that these are the only improvements that have happened in this market, here's a list of many in-house projects that occurred. Kudos to supervisor and staff and authority for supporting these projects. Many projects that need to occur to maintain the equipment and keep the plant functioning and reliable. There's several of these items that have been refurbished and replaced, and it's all happened without going out and becoming in-debt. It's all happened within the rate structure that was in place. There's been no bonding to date for these improvements. The reasons that we're looking at the proposed project today, I found this little gem of an image online and searching for an image. I typed in waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that showed up, and I figured dropping in water, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. But that's what it is, in my opinion. The equipment that is proposed for replacement and refurbishment is beyond the life expectancy. Dating back to 1958, 1975, 78. When that happens, you see a pattern of increased operation and maintenance costs as you're trying to keep up with the failures as they occur. And as they do occur, they become more and more expensive because your reactionary. You're paying a premium for outside service technicians if necessary, for overnighting. And then, of course, there's always the drop everything and race to the emergency. In fact, to the reliability of the plant and the wastewater that's being treated is going to suffer if the equipment isn't able to be reliable. And the risk of treatment failure is that we don't make the NPDES permit. I don't recall what the maximum fine is, but it's a pretty stiff fine that the DEQ can impose. $10,000 per day? Is that right? It's a pretty stiff fine. And as a matter of fact, reading in the mining journal in my neck of the woods, Marquette County, Republic Township is suffering letter right now from the DEQ for not maintaining their lift stations. And they're in a similar situation where they're competing with the project. Why now? Well, the need is now. The need is probably 5 years yesterday from now. In the past. The good thing that's happening now is interest rates are really conducive to doing the project now. One federal loan program, USDA, has the lowest interest rates in history, I should say. The project entailing several different components, it's a good thing to bundle the project to get it all done in one shot, because you're going to have economies there in some of these fixed costs of engineering, administrative, legal, mobilization, supervisory for the contractor, equipment, control on site. That's all. A lot of those are going to be fixed costs, so you can get a better overall package price if you bundle the project. So the needs, what is, this is the project. There's several items that Gary has identified and we've confirmed here and been looking through it. Electrical switchgear, improvements to CSO base, aeration blowers, diffusers, clarifier domes, air building, primary digester heating, mixing and heating, secondary digester covers, mixing systems, roofing, exterior doors. The first item is electrical switchgear transformer. For safety reasons alone, we've got high voltage coming in the plant that the staff would need to switch over. It's 13,000 amperes, right? Coming in the plant. It's proposed that we transform that now before we operations staff safely switch power sources. See, so basic bar screen, this is one of those items that plant staff has already begun refurbishing. However, the portion that is remaining to make this operable for 30 years, it's a great undertaking. It requires a mechanical contractor or somebody with equipment that needs to do that. These are very large screens, by the way. They're able to handle 75 MG, which is 1 million gallons per day. Very large. CSO basically, that is taking care of all of the grit and sand that drops out, and everything else that's settled in the CSO basically. Large buckets, straight to the large area of the set itself. It's similar, that's to be refurbished, not replaced, refurbished. Main plant bar screen, this is the workhorse for the main plant. Separating all the rays, solids that come into the plant. It's been in service since 1978. It's tired. Grit collector, similar situation, was installed in 78. Grit collector is unfortunately no longer in service at all, and the plant has been using a back truck contracted out to take care of those matters by sucking oil of the grit in the chamber. Semi-manual?
Yes.
Portland. Primary clarifier. This is original to 1958, the original plant. It was rebuilt in the 80s, and it's new again. All the moving parts, lights, and being replaced to keep it operational. Aeration blowers. This is one of my favorites because aeration accounts for EPA has published 40% of the energy consumption in this wastewater. It's an activated substance from Kingsford. So there's an opportunity here to not only maintain the reliability of these blowers, but also to maintain good user rates in the future, but through energy efficiencies. Ensure that what we do now has a lasting impact. Final clarifier domes. These are latex modified concrete film that is also 1978-ish, and they are chipping, cracking. We need to preserve it. So look, we're going to do clarifiers, and we want to make sure that we don't have water intrusion, grease off, and further degradation. The ferrous chloride building is a steel building, and it's 2 times suffered corrosion. What you're looking at here is the vertical delivery feed hatch, and you can push that wall, and the whole building is not connected to the lower concrete anymore. The steel studs have it needs to be repaired. The primary digesters, that would be original to 1958, and then the second one was in 1978. There again, looking at the mixing and heating. And the secondary digester, there were 2 covers. There's 2 secondary digesters. The facility had a forensic investigation on the steel thickness in 5 years ago, approximately 4 years ago, 2013. The cover that was constructed in 1958 didn't fare so well in that investigation. The metal became very thin, and it needs to be replaced. cover that was constructed in 1978, however, it looked like it had pretty close to the original steel tolerances. So that can be refurbished, recoated, protected for another 20 years presumably. The project options and rate impact. This may be really difficult to see on the handout. I put it on the last page so that you can see. I know my eyes are getting better, so I'm in my 40s now. There's two options that are presented here. And option one shows the entire project as presented. And when GEI became engaged in the early spring here, one of our goals was to make sure that we went through the cost estimate, refine the cost, so that we had a good handle on what they were before we went out for funding, requesting funding, and coming to communicate what the project impact would be. Project two, option two, I should say, is it deducts certain elements of option one, which is the comprehensive project that's recommended and proposed. It ultimately reduces the project by about $1 million. But I want to be very clear on this, that option two doesn't mean that those liabilities aren't pending. They're still there. Those costs will be there, and they will be there probably at the worst time, and we don't want them to be there in a couple of years. All it would do is it would defer those projects. The impact on rates between the two options for a dime, 10 cents per 1,000 gallons, you would be able to afford for an additional dime, I should say, you'd be able to afford the entire recommended project, which I feel is modest in with Erickson. Under the option one, where you have all of the recommended improvements, we come up with a total project cost of about $5.4 million. And the impact, the potential sewer rate impact would be 94 cents per 1,000 gallons to each user. The current rate right now is $2.74 is what the authority charges each of the cities. Therefore, the total new rate would be potentially $3.68. Estimated. If you went to the option two, where you deferred some of these improvements, you would save 10 cents per 1,000 gallons for a total rate of $3.58. The reasons I would put out there, I think you should consider option one in doing the entire project is you have a lot of the same fixed costs in doing a larger project as you do a smaller project. So you're going to get more project for your dollar. Secondly, I feel your rates are probably going to be least impacted by doing it all at once. Sure, you'll have a lower rate right now, but in 2 years, 3 years, when you do the remaining items of the project, interest rates can rise, escalate, and I think that overall you would end up paying a little higher rates if you did it in succession. I guess the third thing is that you would, by doing the project all in one, you would be able to you'd be able to attract probably a little bit better bids as well. Not only would you have the economy of scale through just the sheer size of the project, but I think you're going to get a little bit more competitive bidding from folks on the equipment side as well. So the impact, what does that really mean as far as the impact on meters? Gary, the sergeant here, had taken the annual cost of each of the projects, option one and option two, and divided it out by the total number of meters, 8,000, is it?
5,894.
And that was the bottom line, the average impact from option one, $4.68. The second option, $4.16.
Isn't that kind of a silly number to compare, because that's saying great boundaries and meters are the same.
Right, that doesn't take into account larger meters, smaller meters. Your fixed meter fee from 1 inch on down is the same, but then you escalate up meter fees after that. This was just to show what kind of an impact it would be for a meter, for a customer that has a meter at their house.
Yeah, just to clarify, there's two numbers that you're seeing under option one. The potential new rate per 1,000 gallons would be $3.68. So if a homeowner uses, 1,000 gallons of water, that's $3.68. The average impact per meter per month would be all the costs of the project, $5.4 million divided by the number of meters. So you're going to have, per month, you're going to have an annual, or per year, you're going to have an annual payment. And you have a certain number of meters that's going to be spread amongst. So with that $4.68 is saying your total annual payment brought down to the monthly level, by default, divided by the number of meters. So you have.
So it's going up $2 on 94 cents.
No, it would be 94 cents. The first, and that's, when I gave Scott this information, I was a little concerned that there might be some confusion that if you don't look at this part here, this is the impact of per meter. The rate impact is 94 cents per 1,000 gallons of water that goes through your meter. If you don't do this, it works out to about $4.68 each meter that's out there in the system. So it's not whole. This is the dollar amount per 1,000 gallons.
I understand that part.
Yeah.
I don't understand the 468 part.
That 468 is a really simplistic, I don't know, I don't even, what it's saying is if there's 8,500 meters, divided by,
The number of
that's making everybody even, which is kind of silly because I only use 5,000 gallons, Great Boundary uses 700,000 gallons. We aren't going to have a $4.68 cent impact. It's going to be completely different. Theirs is going to be.
Yeah, I apologize for putting that information. I just wanted to show
That's confusing.
what the impact was per meter.
So 368 and 358 are the numbers.
Yes,
You're
sir.
concerned.
Yes.
Well, no, 94 and 80.
No, I understand. I'm talking about overall potential new rate per 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, if you want an easier way to look at it is if you use 10,000 gallons over 2 months, that's going to be $9.40 over 2 months. So if you use 10,000 gallons, which is probably more than the average residential customer.
What is the normal average customer use?
I mean, 1,000 cubic feet, which is 7,500, would probably be between 1,000 and 12. We use cubic feet, so this is hard.
I would say an average customer family uses about 4,000 to 5,000 per month. So a 2-month bill, 8 to 10. That's average.
So you're looking
Average
at
family.
$7.20 to $9.40 for 2 months.
Over what we're paying now.
Pardon?
Over and above what we're paying now.
That's it.
The comparison amongst the various communities, I think, is pretty important. The rates that you enjoy right now are extremely low, and I think that's a huge credit to what the board and the operations staff. They kept the rates extremely low compared to the other communities, which is great for the community, great for the cost of the industry. As evidence of that, the DEQ puts out every so often put out rates of 32 units all throughout the year. And then in that rate study, we looked it up, and number 1 out of 102 being the highest rate paying community, and 102 being the least rate paying community, on the basis of 5,000 gallons per month. folks were saying 5,000 gallons per month is a very, it's probably a generous estimate for what a single family household would do. Iron Mountain ranked 93 out of 102, and Kingsford 99 out of 102. So you're at the bottom of the list for rates, like extremely low rates. Well, I think, was it in Copper Country, Jeff? Somewhere, it was one of those.
Yeah, they're very high.
Manistee Township at $86.42 a month in 2013.
Let's keep Iron River on this, don't we?
Well, I had 2.5 payments here. 38.30 in 2016.
Average bill will be about $50 a month. And the ours is 25. Yeah, it's a lot of things.
Try to bring this into, try to appreciate where we're at today, even with having rate increases over the last couple of years. If you were to compare cities' 2016 rates against the neighboring communities' 2013 rates, and pretend that the neighboring communities' rates haven't increased since 2013, Iron Mountain would still be at 90 out of 102, and Kingsford would be 91 out of 102. But that's a little bit misleading because we know that the other communities have had rate increases. So your rates are still very depressed or very accommodative. So as a summary, I feel that the rate commission that you have right now is reflective of having extracted value from the wastewater treatment facilities that are in place. And I think it's also reflective of operations staff authority having done a very good job in utilizing the assets they have and maintaining them, and not having to come out and ask for projects in the past. I feel that the requests that they have for improving the equipment, refurbishing the equipment, I think are modest, I think they're reasonable. I think the reinvestment is crucial to ensure that we maintain that level of treatment, and that we must reinvest or we're going to get into a reactionary chain. The project scope and budget approval, that's what we're here to talk about. That's what we want to move forward. We want to know, can we move forward with improvements as they are proposed, and can the communities support the request? We already have started work on the preliminary side of this. GI was engaged in early spring, and we were working on the preliminary matters to get where we are today, what the scope of improvements are that are proposed, and what the costs associated.
To develop those cost estimates, they had to do some work to get what you just saw, because
How accurate, that's another question, what you said. How accurate are your cost estimates?
Presently, we have a 10% contingency put into it. I feel that
You're comfortable?
I feel comfortable. I feel that we're further along than we generally are when we go to communities, meaning that our level of cost refinement is further along than we would typically be at this stage. Plus, we've done the extra homework.
And a lot of that is because the superintendent has done a lot of preliminary work prior to this that he was sharing with the board before we engaged with GDI. So
Some of these projects are projects that we considered for several years, and we just kept running them off because we could, and now it's cities, commissions, and budgets. And so that answers your question, is that these are projects we've known about for a while, so we've had a lot of time to evaluate them, compare them to engineering services.
And what kicked this off was, and correct me on the price here, is that one cover that was shown, the secondary digester cover?
Yes.
That was worn, that was gonna be what, 500,000 to 600,000?
410,000.
410,000 just to replace that cover. And so we had started setting aside money to replace it, but at the same time we said, well, since we started setting this money aside, what if we, with interest rates being low, looked at fixing all the other things that needed to be fixed and spread it over there. Now, in the meantime, we had some issues with some users, their consumption dropping, which affected the rates. But that's where the plan started, that's what kind of kicked this whole thing off, looking at the whole plan. That was, what, 2 years ago?
Yes.
And to give you an example, to give you another example is that, we had boilers that failed that we had to replace. A major boiler system within this plant is a project of a little over $440,000.
390,000.
Well, yeah, that's just it. And we didn't anticipate this. I'm talking, again, just refreshing myself again with Gary today when talking about how this all developed was, we have boiler inspections which are required annually. And state boiler inspectors come in, insurance and boiler inspectors come in. These boilers pass inspection every year. To the point then we found out that we had some failures that were coming in. When we had those evaluated, it wasn't worth trying to rebuild them. We couldn't rebuild them. We actually had to go in and replace them at $400,000. That took a substantial amount of money out of the reserve funds at this time. And these are similar types of things that we're going to run across with some of these other components that are coming into the 60 years old. They're very short. The digester probably being one of the secondary digester probably being one other than $400,000. So we're looking at evaluating, and that's what we're doing, evaluating this plant and trying to come up with a project that we can go through, do it all at one time, and then pay for it over the next 20 years.
Was this being advertised or anything? It was, right?
Yes.
So residents know that this is being talked about?
It was in the paper, also on Friday and Saturday.
You talked about $400,000 to replace the dome. Is that?
It's in the project. It's a secondary digester cover.
Listed as number 3 digester covered.
Okay.
How much money you guys got in reserve money right now for this project?
Not a whole heck of a lot, right?
$80,000. Because we just got
The
done,
boiler-
because we just got done doing the big boiler
The
project.
boiler zapped the
And we
reserve
paid
funds.
cash for $390,000.
Very roughly, we're $1 million budget.
Yes.
For all in. And then we have about $200,000 we allocate on an annual basis for capital projects. And that's worked fine through years, but now these larger projects just change how we approach this, and that's why we're here today.
When we look at options 1 or 2, I guess I'm sitting here assuming that you've already gone through and eliminated any wish list of that. Is that correct? Everything that you're talking about here is essential to go on into the future with this, to have this plant run properly.
I believe so, yes.
We went through a lot of evaluation on it too, realizing that there's an asset life, and that some of the things you say wish list, that we did have to turn down for what we really needed, but we had to take into consideration whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So if we don't, we want to make sure that the 20-year items are taken care of with this now.
You mentioned earlier, I think you mentioned earlier, about compliance issues. And that without any action, we could get into a $10,000 a day fine position.
It's very.
Where are we at?
We're not.
That's
He
what I
was
want.
bringing that up. That's not, we're not anywhere near
So
that.
we're not looking at a position where we're being
No, there's nothing that leveraging
scolded
us.
or chastised or fined by the DEQ or anybody else.
No, this is more recognizing the age of the equipment and not wanting to get to that point.
Well, I'm all for
Yeah,
that.
there isn't anybody right now telling us you have to replace something or you're gonna get fined. Right, Gary?
Correct.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of this came about too, is when they came through with inspections, they made some recommendations which we complied with.
That was part of what started our list, the
Yes.
recommendations to improve.
But then we realized is that, okay, we complied with what they asked, and then we realized it's, like you go to remodel a building, it just keeps snowballing. We realize, okay, the rest of these need to be done before they come and tell us, and realizing that, yeah, it has to be done.
And with these improvements that you want to make, how far into the future do you believe that this would take us?
Good question.
That's at least 20 years.
That's what we talked about.
That's the goal
Good question.
has always been, is try to refurbish or replace this stuff to get us another 20, 25 years down the road.
With the goal and objective of saying that the rate structure that we were doing in the past, when we reallocated a percentage toward the capital, that we would be going for that 20 years without having to go through this again.
If it got us 60 in the first place, would we be more than 20?
They don't mention, some of the stuff that we're planning to replace or looking to replace is going to be set in.
Okay.
So there are some 35, 40-year-old stuff.
Yeah, we're still looking at a lot longer than 20 years.
Right.
You just did a rate increase last year, we did, rate increase.
Last year, but that rate increase was because of loss of consumption, substantial loss of consumption.
That was supposed to be useful part of this.
We initially did the first rate increase that it was gonna raise $125,000 a year, which we thought would be the amount we needed to pay off the bond of borrowing 3 to 4 million, somewhere in that range, was it? Somewhere in that range, but unfortunately, consumption dried up and that wiped that out, and that last rate increase had to make up for that. And so this is going alone.
So what are we actually pocketing out of that rate increase?
Which one before? That got us back to zero.
This one here.
This one?
No, not this one, the last one.
The last one got us back to zero.
So the consumption went down.
It was
Substantial.
We're talking 3 million gallons a month, I believe it was, loss of consumption.
Absorb anything we put through capital.
Have you investigated where you get the loan?
Yeah, there's, we started out with rural development, which is a federal program which has a lot of strings attached. That's a 40-year loan that you can pay off early, right?
You can pay it.
But then also at the same time, we're looking at commercial because under rural development being our, where our reserves are at, rural development, you have to put in requests after the fact, right? You have to submit reimbursement under rural development, correct?
You've heard the investment funds that.
No, as you're doing the project, you have to.
Yeah.
They don't give you money up front for it. You have to do whatever, like, let's say replace
Just monthly draws, correct?
monthly draws, where commercial, you get all the money up front, and you just draw it in your account. The rates are competitive, and we've done some analysis between rural development and commercial.
How long is the project going to take, you think?
Is it 2 years?
Yes.
2 years.
Personally, I don't even think we should consider option 2. I think that what you were saying, interest rates are low, and for the difference in what is going to increase the rates, I don't even think we should look at that. I think everything should be done now. And I don't know.
I mean, 2 years, this list presented and these numbers presented, this isn't a promise that there isn't something else that goes wrong.
That's what,
Correct.
that was gonna be one of my questions then.
This is
5 years from now, something needs.
something else that's not on this list could burst or break or do something.
We go through an evaluation process on all our equipment every year to see, and that's how we came up with the capital improvements fund. That's how we did a lot of those improvements that just saw that large list. How many pumps, this pump needs to be replaced and that kind of stuff. Because we evaluate, we evaluate our equipment on an annual basis. And we're required to under our NPDES firm to have an asset management plan. I've got roughly 75 pieces of equipment listed in our asset management plan to get evaluated continuously throughout the year. If you're spending too much money on it for corrective maintenance, and maybe you look at replacing that pump, like you saw on the list where we would replace that. So in a crystal ball, yet nothing's going to fail in the next 5 years. However, there is no crystal ball. We can continually evaluate the equipment as we go and maintain it, to keep it running, to keep our NPDES permit limitations within check, to keep doing that. But outside of that, I couldn't say that something might not fail in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
But, with what you've gone through and with your engineers and looked at, and for the $5+ million price tag on the project, if something were to fail, I'm only suspecting that, I mean, are there other major components of this operation that have been assessed by you and given a A+ for health? Or, the only reason I ask is, you know, you go out and you bond for $5.5 million, And 2 years down the road, as Mr. Stoll asked, now we've got another $500,000 piece of equipment that is gone.
This touches on the big ticket items.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at.
This touches, it might not be that $5,000 pump, but it touches that $50,000 collection system or system of surplus.
That's the list, I think that is important. I mean, that's the history of what's happened in the plant. That should tell the story. The folks have done a good job in attacking each piece of equipment.
I understand that, but back to what you said in the beginning, that it's a matter of better price doing the whole job.
Yeah.
I would just hope that if that's the case, that all the major
We
components will
looked
be looked
at
at.
everything, and that's how we came up with this company.
Your question is, there's a $250,000 piece of equipment, that if we have 5 years, it'd be accounted that.
Yes, because it just would not make fiscal sense
Yes.
not to address that now.
And that's, and Jordan mentioned, we started looking at it based on digester cover, and then we started evaluating all the systems that we have. And the final clarifier, the blowers, everything. And that's how we came up with this list here. So I'm confident there's no big ticket item lingering out there. However, there's a crystal ball thing.
What kind of a surplus that, I know that the increases generate X amount of money to pay back the bonds per year. What sort of a surplus would also be, or shall I say, put into a contingency fund in case we do run into that every year? Are we looking at $30,000, $50,000 every year being put into a contingency fund in case we get that $500,000 piece of equipment that needs to be replaced? If we finance through road development, they will tell us how much that will be. They make a requirement of that amount. I don't know what that amount is off the top of my head. Scott, do they know? If we go through private, we can set that.
Every 4 years, thereabouts, we come back for a rate increase. And then we start off with 80% operational, 20% capital. And then that increases down to zero, which is essentially where we are now, unfortunately. And then, if we have the numbers right, I thought that there was a requirement even $150 through this year.
It was 130, yeah.
125.
Was that 125?
Yeah, 125 thereabouts, and that's kind of where we want to be, but they would be forcing us to do that regardless of what we really know our needs are. So now we're going to still be able to be flexible within those rates, and of course, kind of you and explaining that how we go through the years. I mean, hopefully, again, say we can set it now, we're at the 80-20, we come back 4 years later before we have to do anything.
Well, I'm glad to see that the figure 125,000 contingency based into potential maintenance costs, which is something I would consider about really, the minimum should be around it.
I agree with you. We agreed to that in one of our early meetings. That's just a prudent thing to do. We always have something breaking. So keeping that 125,000 coming in, we're even now, but we really need to address that.
So every 10 cents on that, I just asked Gary quick here, every 10 cents on that rate would get you 35,000. So if you went to $1.04, you'd have 35,000, you'd be set, and so on. This is an example. If consumption stays
Based on water consumption.
Now, this has to go to the respective councils, right?
well, that's why you're here
So
tonight.
it's not something that you guys can decide that we're gonna go ahead and do a money grab and.
Well, no, we need your approval on the rates.
That's
to be able
what
to
it has to
get
be
back.
council,
Yeah.
come back to you guys, we approve you guys borrowing the money.
The purpose-
It has been said out there that, that it's just for you guys to grab money.
The purpose,
Because we made you guys an authority, right?
The
I just want to
purpose of-
get that clear. The council, each council still has to vote on it.
Yes.
the purpose of having both city councils to hear at this meeting was because we do have to ask you for rate increase, any rate increase, which we just did recently. But we wanted to have you to explain this project because when it comes down to that, we have to ask for the rate increase, which we anticipate. You're going to have to approve that before we can move forward.
Would it be prudent to ask for a little more so that you do have a contingency fund?
Well, we don't even, I don't even think we need to do that at this point. I mean,
Well, this is a cost estimate of what the project.
what the project, this is gonna be over 2 years, so this isn't something that has to be done up front. This would be something we'd evaluate and talk about, because we could bid this out, anticipating 5.5, this is coming at 5, now of course it could come in at 6. But if it comes in at, 5,
You got $1 million on.
we could actually take out the whole bond for it and throw 5,000 aside to save, as a contingency fund. So there's ways we can work,
Okay,
so we have to know more information as we get there to be able to,
because we would want to think about that now.
I don't think we need to. I mean, I think it's been made the point that both
Okay.
councils want that as a consideration, but as far as what we're talking about tonight is strictly for the bond and the rate for that bond.
And I think where rates are gonna go, I mean, everybody knows they're gonna go up. So it
Can't go
gets-
much lower.
Right, yeah, to get stuff done now.
Iron Mountain Kingsford really has enjoyed a very low rate for a very long time. And we're still going to be low, even if you all agree to this.
If we agree to this, where's it putting us on to this?
I mean, even if you, Scott, what you showed, if you looked at those customers that are by us, I mean, a lot of those are probably just like lagoon systems. I mean, are they full treatment plants
The only one was, the lowest was Asselin.
that runs an actual treatment system? The rest of
Everybody
them-
else is like, for instance, Republic, Sokola Township, Berlin Township,
They're just lagoons, right?
Powers, Spalding, yeah, lagoons, lagoon systems, small systems.
You have no cost in those, so of course they're gonna, I mean, if we had the, you have the list. Ascalon is the one that's lower than us, and what's the next city? What number are they at?
The next city would be above Crystal Falls,
They're at what?
$24.
What range
These are 23.
What number are they?
It would have been 89.
That was dictated by the rural development, though, right? Crystal Falls was. They have to draw in rural development.
Yeah, I think
tell
that-
you what you gotta-
I believe that was a rural development project that they did there. And rural development has all kinds of rules and regulations. The repayment is amortized over 40 years. Now, mind you, we don't expect the equipment to last 40 years, but you can pay for it over
Some of it will.
years. Some of it will. But then they also might require you to put 10% bond reserve. So 10% of that annual payment would have to go into a fund for 10 years until you had a year's worth of payment saved up from that. They would also dictate how much you had to have in a replacement fund. And it kind of take it out of the hands of the council or even the sewage authority of how much you would be able to put away for that capital improvement fund for those unexpected projects that might come up.
You're not looking at going to rural development grant there, right?
It's not off the table, but the more we investigate it with commercial, it may be better to go commercially.
Because you wouldn't want to go 40 years.
Well, but the point I made is you don't have to go 40, even though they set it at 40.
They don't stick at 40.
You can pay, if your bond payment's set at 40 with 100,000 and you had a high consumption year, you could throw 150 at it, that 1 year, bring it down.
I guess I wouldn't want somebody dictating our rate, I guess that's part of the problem.
Dictating our rates, but also dictating what we put aside for capital improvements above and beyond what we've already done now. Another point of interest that we didn't cover here is where we are from a capacity standpoint. We're treating it 1.5 a day.
Plant is rated for 3.3 million gallons per day. We treat roughly 1.4 to 1.5 million gallons per day. So we have capacity to bring more customers in, more industry into town.
So we set up well for that, so you can take a look at what that can do from us from where it's at.
Has there been discussions or plans for that?
The discussion is kind of like we're having right now, so we know we have the capacity, but then it's within the city's jurisdiction of how if and how we want to handle that for bringing in additional revenue, additional flow.
So you're coming in,
When he said Brighton Township, a very small portion, it's
White
just.
Birch Village over.
White Birch.
Depot is the only part of Brighton Township that actually comes to us.
Oh, that's it.
But to answer your question, to answer your question, there has been discussions with.
No increase in capacity.
There have been discussions, there has been discussions in the past with Brighton Township, from the authority standpoint. So,
But that's up to them too.
but there's some things that the authority has passed on to Brighton Township that are a requirement for feasibility studies and so forth. to bring back to the authority for consideration. And then the city of Kingsford and the city of Iron Mountain, at that time, were equal players in this. Some of that would change because of the authority concept.
However, any sewage that does come in, that extra flow to us, has to flow through either Iron Mountain or Kingsford. So your collection system, the cities don't, vacate their responsibility when it actually comes through their system. You got an extra customer that goes to Kingsford, has to go through their production system to get to us. Or if it develops and goes into Iron Mountain, has to go through your collection system to get to us. So the city councils and the cities that each have a say in what goes into their cities. We can't arbitrarily, find other customers and put them into your system without your knowledge.
But you're right, the more customers, the more we share costs.
The sell is to the public, whose rates are going to be better, right? Right. It's easy for us to sit here and say, well, geez, I understand the work you put into it. I understand you've identified everything that you think is essential to bring us into the next 25 or 30 years to make that plant optimal. Nobody likes more money out of their paycheck, right? Whether it's $9 every other month or $5 a month, they just don't like it. So if you get both councils to agree, yep, it's necessary, we have to do this. We got to sell it to the public.
Well, we're gonna have it on the agenda, hopefully people will see it in the paper. It's gonna be.
Well, the whole point of this was for you guys to get feedback, both councils, to
Right.
have, Linda's here, it's gonna be in the papers, other media, Aaron's here, and Dave was here before.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Then when we have a council meeting and discuss this again, to give you guys the okay to follow the meeting, we have public feedback on how the public feels about it.
We should.
And hopefully, they'll come, not give us a problem after that.
That is that people don't.
Until the first bill goes out, you're not gonna hear
Right.
anything until the first bill goes out, because this was advertised and,
People don't often think of what it is their wastewater treatment plant does.
Exactly. Surprised how many people don't even know where
Well,
it
I understand that. And when you're talking about, geez, we're gonna need to bond for X number of millions of dollars to ensure that we've got a place for all of that to go, well, that kind of hits you right in the face then. You didn't even realize, you pay your water bill, but you don't know why. You pay for water, but you don't know what's all involved. So I think, I'll give you kudos for the job you've done. I learned a lot from you.
I missed the last.
But you're right, the scary part to the public is gonna be 5 million.
It is. It's a little easier to tolerate when you say, well, it's, in Iron Mountain's case, it's $9 and X number of cents every other month, but it's still $9 and X number of cents every other month. And that's just more and more and more on top of everything else that comes out of the patient.
well, and for us, and for both cities, this is an increase on the treatment plant. We also have facilities that we have to maintain within the cities. that
Absolutely.
Rates need to pay
Yeah.
for that. That doesn't necessarily, because we're doing this, freeze the needs that we might have within the
That's right.
cities. So it's a lot to it.
That's why we need to do it actually.
I guess the reality of this, when it all started, was, knowing that we were trying to save $125,000 a year and looking at $125,000 a year to pay off a project, but just saving $125,000 a year, and putting it in the bank for some of these projects, where we just went through a $400,000 boiler project, which was anticipated, and then we found out that it had a $400,000 digester cover that needed to be replaced. How many years is it going to take to just save up to replace these, and in the meantime, we've got another $400,000 piece of equipment, or $500,000 piece of equipment that failed, and pretty soon, we're continuing coming back and asking for rate increases so that we can go out and borrow money to take care of these things, and we just felt that it was better just to do a good, solid evaluation of this, get people involved that can take a look at this and come up with a project, and get it done now, and pay for it after it's done, so we don't worry about these things fall apart every other year, because it is, 6 years.
I agree.
And I'm assuming this has no impact on operations of all this 2 years of this stuff going on.
to run 24/7, 365.
We may occasionally have to block your toilet on day. Every once in a while. Yeah, just be your toilet.
I can't close the valve and go home.
I'm just making sure that it won't affect anything.
We're meeting our NPDES permits, and that's where we want to stay. We want to stay meeting all our discharge permits. We have actually hold two of them. We hold one in Michigan for the liquid portion, and one in Wisconsin for the sludge portion that we generate. We apply the biosolids over in Wisconsin. We meet all those requirements for both those permits, the NPDES permit, which is a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, and the Wisconsin permit. We're meeting all those requirements. We want to continue to be able to do that.
Are you, or have you given any thought to putting out any kind of a informational sheet for the public to,
We could put this on our website.
and, you know, that's what it's, well, and
That
We
presentation,
don't have a website, so.
we could put it on.
just something to help them understand why it's necessary, and geez, that's a big number, but yeah, this is what it costs,
Yeah, whatever.
you know?
Scott, you want to send that? That'd be a good idea.
Is there anything that gives them more information?
Email it to you this afternoon. Yes, sir.
Are you gonna have public comment? I mean, it's two seconds all council.
Yeah. This is the agenda item for the council, there will be public comment after that, yeah.
And I think, I've been on this for over 20 years, and we totally respect and understand the challenges that you have, because we come up with the numbers that you have to sell it. So, and this is a great opportunity for us. And for one time, this is the only time I've been able to face the council as far as explaining what we do. You know, so it's, any questions you have, it's a great opportunity to be able to cover what we do.
Well, it sounds to me like there's some serious work there.
How soon are we going to be at the booth? When are you going to make your request?
To the city councils,
Yeah.
I would say probably within the next 2 weeks, couple weeks, 2 weeks,
Not this meeting, but maybe the meeting after, September 19th.
September 19th.
Potentially. Because I mean, even after, if everything goes, there's a long process to still get started, right? So, I mean,
The sooner we get that process started, the sooner we get the lessons from the council.
But we can't
Sooner that
really get started
process
without
started.
knowing what the scope of the project is. So the next step is funding. We need to get our funding together, develop plan sheets, develop bidding documents, solicit bids, know what the final number is on the project. Close on the bond, we got it already done, and we're in construction, signing contract.
Probably next summer, maybe.
I think we're probably looking at spring or not, best case.
Any other questions, comments?
Old ages.
But I also think that
It can't be here more.
we can't emphasize enough too is how well the rates are structured here as far as being in the top 10% in other areas. So I think it's
Jordan, I got a question for you. In our process,
yeah.
as a council, we'll consider Iron Mountain to give this authority, to borrow to this authority, give you the authority to do that. Are we required to have a public hearing?
The full faith and credit part, if we do GL bonds, is that required public hearing?
Certainly, there's public notice, and the community has the right to, is it called referendum?
It's a revenue bond through our EU have a way.
Right.
I think we're doing all.
I would just like to see us have some method in which, I mean, in addition to public comment, where it's on the agenda, it's the issue on the agenda, and the
Well, it would be
public
for the
has
rate-
the opportunity to come in and speak to it.
The potential rate increase would be the agenda item. Cover that.
And we can,
We can, yeah, you know, if whatever works out to the 19th happens to be the day that we do that, that would be right on the agenda of that meeting. It's not something I bring up in the manager's report, you know.
no, but I'm not, I mean,
Yeah, we have.
if you're talking about the 19th of September, I would
Potentially.
assume before that, we would want the public to have the opportunity to speak to it.
Yeah, or that night.
That's all I got. This should be simple, isn't it?
No, this is council.
Oh, council, okay. Oh, public comment. Public comment.
I'm Jack Smeester. I live in Kingsford. My address is 380 Cass Avenue, and I'm speaking in Brian Smeester's place this evening. Now, before I begin, I would like to outline one thing. I would like you to keep in mind that the wastewater treatment plant is in compliance and is inspected yearly by the state. Again, it is in compliance. Last November, I took a tour of the wastewater treatment plant. I was shown a lot of replaced equipment, motors, and ongoing maintenance of the facility. Concrete is what stuck out to me. It is 60 years old. The biggest part of the facility was built in the 1970s. I have seen work crews working on the equipment. Again, the wastewater treatment plant is in compliance and is inspected yearly by the state. I was shown one of the digester covers. It had a small crack in it. I noticed the cover had patches on it. The cracked ones need to be patched. The digester covers are pieces of metal flowing on methane in a concrete cylinder. The methane, while used for heating the plant, is also a greenhouse gas. I found no EPA or primer for municipal wastewater treatment systems regulations on methane discharge from this wastewater treatment plant. The $3 million that 4 people on the Wastewater Authority Board want to borrow will not go to fix 1 inch of sewers in Iron Mountain, because the authority is only responsible for the wastewater treatment plant and the sewer up to Woodward Avenue, which was the old sewer creek. The $3 million will not go to water separation in Kingsford or help to stop sewers from backing up into people's basements. I beg that the councils compel the wastewater authority to put borrowing that much money on the ballot and let the voters decide. If not, we will put a petition forward pursuant to the Articles of Incorporation of the Iron Mountain Kingsford Joint Sewage Authority, Article 15, Revenue Bonds Act 94, Public Acts of Michigan 1935, MCL 141.133, issuance of bond without submitting proposition to voters for approval, and to let the people decide. The wastewater authority facility is in compliance and is inspected annually by the state. All of the information in this letter can be backed up by facts. Sincerely, Brian K. Smeester.
Any other public comment?
I don't know if you want me up here. I sure would have appreciated Councilman Erickson, Kingsford. I sure would have appreciated this information about 2 months ago when we raised our water rates already. Now I gotta go back to the same people that put us here to make the decision and explain to them the wound that just finished healing from what we've just done to you already. Now we gotta do it again. We should have had this information about 2 months ago.
Well, to explain that, we have water consumption loss.
And I understand.
That was the purpose of that rate increase at that time. We weren't even talking about this project, raising rates at that time. We were just looking at breaking even.
Looking at the scope of this project, you guys have been looking at it for a while, and I understand you do. It's just in the last 2 months now, I've had constantly the people of Kingsford explaining to me, hey, my water rates went up. I still remember seeing people in the audience asking, please don't raise my water rates. One guy said he was going to shower less. That's not acceptable. And now we have to go back to those same people and explain that we're going to do it again. That's a tough sell. All right. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Any other public comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.